Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode number 10. Yes, Ozzyboshi 10. Episode number 10 of the series by Ozzy, Amiga game dev, and his racing car game. So let me welcome Ozzy. Hello, Ozzy. Welcome to the stream.
Ciao, hello everybody. Double digit for me today.
Yeah. Hello, and the Magic Knight. Hello, Dockster. Hello, Gary Meg. Okay, so before I pass the microphone to Ozzy, I need to go and do my usual thing. So let me switch to the browser. Yeah. Please subscribe and follow me on YouTube. Like my videos is the only way YouTube will share my videos, let's say that. And the only way I know how to spread the retro word. Remember that under each video there is this thing more, and normally you have links related to that video or related or the source code related to that video. The source code will take you to the Mega share drive, and you can download the files from there. Please follow my Facebook page and like, of course. It's my blog. Eventually I will change this. Actually, I did prepare a lot of stuff behind the scene in relation to this, so that I can have my own blog, because I am annoyed by Facebook not able to find what I did, I don't know, a year ago. It's annoying me. Please subscribe to my Phase 101 Facebook group. There is anything related to Phase 101 there, and this channel, this Facebook group that is growing, the Commodore Dev Facebook group. Please subscribe to it. It's always being updated, and it's growing quite fast, I have to say. If you send me messages on Facebook, I do take my time to reply, but if you send me a message on Discord, I will reply quickly. So subscribe to Discord if you want a quick reply. I do have a Telegram group if you do not like Facebook or Discord, but most people like Discord. So my Telegram group is still immature, let's say that. If you want to go that extra mile to support me, you will unlock 106 videos related to development, and there's a copy of it also on Coffee, so they are identical basically. The videos on Patreon or Coffee, they do take their time till they arrive on YouTube. And of course, I need to mention this, the Retro Tank Game Jam. We have this jam. It finishes in 2 months, 15 days, and 2 hours, 45 minutes, let's say that. It's related to making a game in any language you like for our beloved retro machines. Please read the rules. All the games except those that were not released for the previous Game Jam are on the Retro Programmers Inside website, well, on itch.io basically, which if you want to have a look at them to see what was done, if you did not follow the stream, you can. I'm going to paste it. And Twitch is being funny with me. It told me to log on for some reason, but not here. Okay, so luckily I have 2 windows open, one backup of the other. That's basically it when it comes to what I had to say. Where is my... So, without further ado, I pass the microphone to Ozzy.
Where do I start? Let's just make a small recap of last time, and then we can continue with the subject of today, which is compression. Maybe this is something that it's not strictly related to the game. Let's say it's a general purpose problem. You can use compression, of course, not only for games, but also for demos, for track modes, I think. So multiple usage for compression, and it's a very, let's say, important topic when you program on Amiga. Sometimes you need compression in order to pack your data and save space. So the problem I was trying to solve is the following. If you remember, I have a friend and he gave me a lot of assets in terms of pictures, IFF files, essentially, image. And if you know, you probably already know that just a single image, let's say a 32 color bitplane image, is a lot of data for the Amiga. It's around 50K of data. And he sent me this image, and I used this image for the background of the game. So the screen select, the option screen, the welcome screen, and so all this stuff. And I quickly realized that if I want my game to fit on only one floppy, this is gonna be a problem, because let's consider 50K one image. Maybe you insert, let's say, 3 or 4 image, and then you have the track image, the track metadata. Maybe you want some music. So the floppy drive space, when it's thus formatted for the Amiga, is 880 kilobytes, if I'm not wrong. This means that you have to fit all your data inside this space, unless you want to implement some disk swapping mechanism, which is something that in the past it was done. For example, I remember the LucasArts adventure games were 11 floppy disk, more or less. So what I usually do when I have a problem, and this is something that I recommend you to do, if you have a Amiga programming question, just head to the Discord channel, the Discord server of Ace11. There are multiple rooms inside, and if you ask something there, probably there will be someone who knows the answer. And this is what I did essentially. I got multiple responses from the users, and each answer was different. The first user recommended some algorithm, the other another, and the other another, and then Phases recommended another again. So what I did, it was just put all this input into one basket and just try one by one the results, if they work for me, and just to make some sort of comparison of these compressors. So the goal is, so what I needed is just a simple way in order to take a file, shrink it down at the maximum, I would say, in order to save space on the floppy disk. And then I need some method in order to get back to the original data. So I need a lossless compression. And because I want as an output, I want exactly the input file that I gave. With every bit must match what I gave into an input. And this resulted on, for me, it was quite fun. It's a sort of comparison from the tools that are out there and which are available to the public. I didn't write my own compression, of course, first of all, because I don't have the knowledge, and second, because this is a problem which was already addressed by smart people. So this time I won't talk about my code, but I will talk about the code from the others. And that's it, essentially. So
and how you implemented it, no? Because you're going to say also.
I just copy and paste the code, and then I read the instruction, how to use it, how do you call the routine, and I just wrote the calling part routine. That's it. Nothing more. Actually, I did some changes. In one of them, and I will speak later why I did some changes, but they were very minor changes. How do we proceed? Do you want to show the floppy disk, the drive, or
I can show the game, or
I don't know. The game is exactly like before. It's just to show that there are some. If you are going to decompress data on the Amiga while the game is running, of course there is some sort of balance, because you are trading some bytes on the disk with some CPU cycles on the game, and there are a lot of CPU cycles. It's not so fast, and so when you, for example, if you change screen here, you should hear the drive which start ticking and ticks, read data from the disk. Then it stops. There is a long pause. And this is the stage when the program is decompressing the file. And just to, I don't know which, this is a regular stock 500.
Yes, it's a regular.
So just in order to understand, you can turn on the sound of the motor of the floppy drive, and let's hear when it stops.
It should be on, but let me check. It is on.
Okay, so if you press start race now, you should hear the floppy which start ticking, and then it stops. And this is the time that takes to uncompress the track data.
Hopefully. There you go.
So just to give you an idea of the performances of the decompressor that I'm using, and just to give the idea that if I inkbin this file directly on the executable, it will be almost instant. So you don't need time in order to load data from floppy disk, and you don't need any compression. But your executable is bloated, because if you include all the track files inside the executable with the inkbin, you have a very big executable, so you have a quite long loading time when it starts the game, and then no more loading, it's all in RAM. But of course, if you use this method, you will run out of RAM quite easily, because the Amiga has 1 meg or half meg. Okay, today there are quite cheap expansion. You can have 2 meg of chip. You can also add fast RAM, and this is better. Of course, if you have some accelerator, this method makes almost no sense. But if you are targeting a stock Amiga, you may wonder if it's possible just to stream data from the floppy and just recycle the same RAM portion when the track is displayed all the time. So this is why I did this, why I spent 2 weeks doing this, because I am targeting, let's say, an A600, but if possible, I'm targeting an A500 without expansion. I don't know if it's possible to include everything in half meg of RAM. I will try it, but if I don't, it's not the end of the world. You didn't set up one car, I see. You just
I didn't set up anything. It's just as it's by default. So I don't know if it works. I just went in as you told me. So I didn't.
yeah. Well, so the game is the same of the last time. I think it makes no sense to show again the game, because it's the mechanism. So nothing changed. The only thing that changed.
They are all going to move basically.
Yeah, because
the joystick
default,
is for all. Yeah.
Yes, at default, I set joystick 1 to some cards. So in this, let's say, build.
Which is a problem.
Yeah, and the other, I think the card number 2, you can control it using the WASD keyboard, and I don't remember actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is not important. It was just to show that right now, what I'm doing, I have just a little portion of RAM using. The game is just using a little portion of RAM, and every time that an image is loaded or a track data is loaded, what happens is that I'm streaming data from the floppy drive into this portion of RAM, and every time that the track changes, this portion of RAM gets deleted and gets recycled with the new data. So this is the point. And the point, also the other point, is that all data which is read from floppy drive or from the floppy disk is compressed. So it needs an extra, let's say, moment in order to decompress, depack all the data. And this is my goal, actually. If this file is 100K uncompressed, so if you do this on A1200, the timings are halved. So, but still, since I'm not decompressing during the race, I'm just decompressing before the race starts, I think that it's something that the player can wait. I remember when I had the Commodore 64, I had to wait minutes in order the game to load. On the Amiga, we are talking about seconds, so it's not a huge problem from my point of view. Okay, you can close the emulator right now or press S if you prefer, so we can start with the slides.
Yeah. Oops. It went to loading.
Okay, so compressor showdown. This is something like a duel. I compared 4 different compressor routines, and I will talk briefly about each of them. I won't tell you which is the best because there is no winner here. It's not a really competition. I just wanted to list what's good and what's less good for each compressor. So please go to slide number 2 and we can start discussing it.
Oops.
Okay, this is the first compressor that I used. This was suggested by Pellicus, of course, on the Discord channel. And this is a routine which is LZ4. And this compressor has, let's say, multiple versions. You can find it with Python, for example, for C, C++, Java. So it's a very well-known and used compressor. And we have this guy, and probably some of you already knows him. His name is, I think the correct pronunciation is Arnaud Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a demo scener. The nickname is Leonard, and the group is Oxygen. And he released on GitHub his own implementation for the Amiga, and I think also for the Atari, because for what I know, he's also on the Atari demo scene. And so what I found is his GitHub page, and I listed the URL on the second line of this page. And as I said, this is his implementation, and this is where my problem started, because for me the README page is not so well done. I had trouble at the beginning.
Thanks for the raid.
The routine was crashing all the time. Okay, so Arnaud Carr, he did this, and it's wonderful, and it works very well. This LZ4 is, for what I understand, is just a part of a family of compressor, which starts with LZ. There is LZO, LZ4, and I don't know what else. And this is great for the Amiga because he has a very good compression ratio, and it's very fast. And so it means that you don't have to wait much time in order to have your final data decompressed. And also, the code is very small and so compact, so it won't take much extra byte in order to include the decompressing algorithm to your game or your production. So this is, I think, very good for the demo sceners. I think this is very, let's say, useful if you do track mods or something that must be decompressed while you are showing something on your demo at runtime. And another very interesting point is that let's say his code was licensed under the MIT license. So I'm not a lawyer, but according to my knowledge, you should be free to include this code in your product. So essentially, if you want to use it, just copy and paste into your game. And I think Mr. Arnaud will never claim that it's his own intellectual property and will ask for royalties. This is what I understand, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right on this. Yeah. I some time ago I looked into it myself because of the book. So yeah, I was looking at the licenses in relation to this. When Fabio published the book, it was GPL3, but yeah, I was considering MIT, to be honest, for my version. But yeah.
Anyway, I always recommend to give credit to the author
Yeah, of
if we are
course.
going to use.
Yeah.
Just say in the credits the compression routine was taken from here, and the author is him. Just this is an extra step. You can do it.
Yeah.
So this LZ4 is wonderful because also you get multiple versions of it.
Can I ask one thing? You said that you can decompress while executing something else. You're not mentioning it here in your comments.
Because I didn't.
Is there an option for that, or is a
No? You just have to. For example, you can call the routine by Arnaud in an interrupt.
Aha, that's what it means. Okay.
Since it's quite fast,
okay,
the interrupt routine won't take so long. Maybe it's something that could be implemented, but this is not something that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah, okay,
it's just my knowledge that say, okay, if you want to make a track mob, I would pick this algorithm.
Yeah.
If I really want to decompress during a track mob, and also small files. But I didn't do that. I don't even know if it's possible and which are the problems if I use this technique.
Did you have to convert it to run with Wasm because you said it's not Wasm friendly? Did you have to modify it? So
Exactly.
Okay.
Let me get there.
Okay.
If you go to the GitHub, you can go right now. Just copy and paste this GitHub link and open your browser so we can see together what I'm meaning. This is my repository. I want you to open the link that is on the PDF.
That's what I clicked. I clicked the link which is on the PDF, and that's what it opened.
Which one?
Which
link?
This one.
Go back to the PDF, please.
You cannot see the. Sorry. Hold on. I show you like that. So I clicked here, and it opens that one.
I'm not seeing. Okay, no. Okay, https github.com arnaudcar lz4 -68. So the first line.
The first one you want me to do.
His
version.
This is the original repository.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my copy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see here you have 4 different ASM files. There is smallest.asm, there is normal.asm, and there is another. Yes.
Fastest.
The fastest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do you do? The problem is that each of these file has a label, which is the decompress routine. So you ideally, when you want to use this, you should just say JSR into this label, which is inside one of these three. So you include one of these three, and then you jump into the subroutine. This is at least what my understanding on how to use this stuff. And actually, I was wrong, and I found the solution on the issues of GitHub. Just one thread. There was a guy who was complaining about the same stuff. Actually, if you go on the top of the page, there is an extra file, which is, I don't remember the name, but it was something like frame.asm.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, try to open it. Click on the name of the file. Okay, and here at the bottom there should be an include file, an include directive.
Yeah.
And it's okay, include lz smallest.asm. So what you have to do here is just you have to select which version do you want. Do you want the smallest? So it means you want to save space into your executable. Do you want the fastest? So it will take more space into the executable, but it will decrunch faster. And also there is this lz4 normal.asm. I didn't try it. For what I understand, this is something which is optimized if you have a Motorola 60020. But since I was targeting my A600, I didn't try it. I use the I think the fastest or the smallest. I tested both of them, and they gave me more or less the same result, same performance. So there is no big difference. So the point is, you have to jump into this subroutine, and you have to include the version that you want to use. And then, of course, compile. Another note is that this code is not WASM friendly. It was written probably for some other assembler. I don't know which one. I think also DevPack is failing on this, because there are, for example, there is the repeat directive, which is on DevPack is RPT, and here there is repeat.
Yeah, it's as in one.
And it probably is as in one. Yes.
Yeah, it's as in one.
So I just copied and paste and just I made my own correction in order to work with DevPack. But it's just minor things. I just want to tell you that if you just copy and paste this and try to compile with WASM, it will give you some errors because of the syntax. There's not errors about the algorithm or logical problems. It's just the syntax of some directives. So LZ4 frame debug is what you have to call on your program, and then you have to include the version that you want. This is how we must use.
So when you say version, you mean normal, fast?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you specify that? Because I didn't see it. How do you specify which version you are?
You have to comment the version that you don't want, and you have to uncomment the version that you want.
So that's how you specify the version.
Yeah, for example, here I'm using version the smallest.asm, and you are not using, of course, the others. Of course, if you include all this file, it will give you some problems because the same label is redefined multiple times. But this is essentially how it works. And literally, since this is not explicitly it's not listed on the README. There are no clear instructions. I have to dig a lot to find out why it was crashing. And also, I bothered also Pellicus about this, and since he's using an ASCII implementation, he probably doesn't know how to use this assembler implementation. But yes, this is how it works. So please go back to the PDF and we can continue.
There is Pellicus. He's in. So
yeah, I spent one night, I think, and then I found a closed thread on the issues, which it was marked as resolved. So at default you can't see it on GitHub. And there was this guy which was complaining exactly about the same stuff that I was complaining.
Hello, I forgot the name that followed. But thanks for the follow. And let me see if I see you here. Stothead85. Thank you very much for the follow. Hello, welcome to the stream. We are discussing Amiga assembly, and we're talking about a game that Ozzy is producing, is developing. Ah, hello, Pellicus. Yeah, it's fine. Go to bed. So yeah, if you're interested in Amiga game development assembly, then this is the right channel for you. Heg 85. Ozzy, all yours again.
Yeah. Let's just finish this LC4 page. So, as I said, there are multiple versions for 68,000 and more. Just pick the version that you want. And this is the command that I used to compress LZ4 -9 minus no frame CRC, and you gave your input file and the output file, which is the compressed file. I run this on Linux and on Windows, and it just gives the same exact result, and it works with the Amiga. So if you try to decompress what has been compressed on a PC, it works just fine. I don't know if there is an LZ4 compressor for the Amiga, but it's not important for me since I do cross-compiling. I have all my build routines on Linux. So on my make file, I just say, please compress with this exact command, and it works just fine. And I also want to mention that this is not a command that it's by me. This is something that is listed in the README file of Arno Carr. So he is suggesting to compress with these parameters, -9 and no frame CRC. I don't know what they are meant for, honestly, but just following the instruction and it works. And in order to select a version, you had, okay, this is just what I was saying before. You can select the version that you want. In this case, I just copy and paste my version and on my repository in order to do all my tests, because I tested this on, I think, almost my Amigas. I tested on a 600, 500 plus. I tested on a Vampire, same result. I tested on FSUIE with 600. I tested on 1200. So my usual round of test has been successfully run on all this machine and no issue whatsoever. So for me, it's thumb up for Mr. Arno Carr and LZ4. Please turn the page so
Yeah.
we can.
Here is the second page.
Yeah, this is an example of usage, and this is actually what I'm doing with my unit testing on AProcessing. I just put the size of the packet file, so the output of the lz4 command, into the 0. Then I load the packet data into the A0, and I say the address when you want, where you want to have the uncompressed data into A1. And from here, you just jump to the routine from Arno, LZ4 frame debug, and that's it. After that JSR has returned at address unpacked in this example, you will have the whole uncompressed data. And this is how it works. Of course, this is just the simple example that I'm doing on AProcessing, so on my test method. And I just use the ink bin in order to load the raw data, the compressed data. But of course, the game is using Amiga DOS, so DOS.library in order to retrieve data. It stores somewhere, and then it calls JSR LC4. And of course, on the, as I said, on A1, you will get the uncompressed data. Don't forget, if you're using this method, to add the even directive in case that the file has a node size, because it will add the extra byte in order to align the compressed data. So you won't have troubles.
Proton is saying, hello Proton, saying why Arnold Kerr name is in the headline. LZ4 was made by Jan Colette.
Why is Arnold Kerr name in the headline?
Yeah, so basically why you are saying that he is the author of LZ4.
No, I didn't say that. I said that he is the author of the implementation of the M68 implementation. Is not the author of the original LZ4 algorithm.
Yeah, okay.
He just did his own version, which works fine on the Amiga. But of course, there are multiple authors. Each of them is for some language.
Yeah.
The author of the C language is not Orno Carr, for example.
Yeah.
I just want to mention who is writing the code that I'm using, and that's it. This is why I included on the headline his name. Okay, so go to the next page, and I don't remember what I put in the third page because my memory is so short. Yeah, this is a typical run of my framework. And I asked my framework to compress some files with the original size with 64 bytes, 51,264, and etc. And so these are the results. I would say that more or less you save a lot. You save, let's say, more than half of data with this compressor, and it works just fine. For example, the 54 bytes is shrinked down to 29. And the others are 60,000, and the original size was 51,000. So I would say this is quite good. The final compressed data is this number here, is 185,036, so 186,000. And these are the cycles that were needed in order to decompress all these files. And the cycles are, the number is high because I'm counting also the cycles needed from my testing framework in order to check bit by bit if the data which is returning the routine is correct. So this is why it's taking so much time, but just give you an idea of here we are decompressing half meg of data. So I would say this is a very good decompressor for my understanding, and it's very fast. Okay, so let's turn the page and we'll talk about the second one. This is another compressor, and this is called the ProPacker, and this is by Rob Northern Computing. And this is a quite popular name on the Amiga scene because Rob Northern was the author of quite popular cracking algorithms. No, it's a protection, sorry. He was selling at the time the protection method to the software houses in order to avoid illegal copies. So I have this book and I have to give it back to the.
Which book you're talking about now?
It's called Crackers, and there is a whole section about Rob Northern and his copy protection routines or methods. And I didn't know that he also released this ProPacker software. I found this on Aminet, and this is the one that you suggested me last time. You said, look at McGeezer streams. He did something on I think it was the fourth video of the playlist.
Fourth one.
Yes, and he was using exactly this one. And for my understanding is that this product was a commercial product back in the day, and probably the Rob Northern lost interest on this and released on Aminet, or someone for him released on Aminet. So it's freely downloadable, but and it's also easy to use, probably more than the LZ4. But as I said, it was a commercial product, and now it seems to free to use. But the problem is that usually when you release something for free, you include a license file or something that just states under what circumstances you can use this software. For example, if you set with GPL, there is some regulation about the GPL, but here there is no license file. At least I didn't find it, so I don't know if I can use it or not, if I can just distribute it freely, if I had to do something, for example, I don't know really, but it works. It's another very good compressor. It's comparable to LZ4, and what is interesting here is that this compressor is good for a lot of retro platform, because he released a version for the Motorola, but also for the 8086, for the Z80, for the Game Boy, SNES, Atari Lynx, and MIPS. So this means that if you have a file compressed with his compressor, you can then decompress on all these different CPUs/platforms. And this is something that could be of interest of someone who wants to release the game or the software on multiple platforms. For example, if you want to make a game for the Amiga and the SNES, for example, and this could be a good solution. Inside the zip file on Aminet, you will find this ppami.exe file. And this is not something that you can run on a modern PC. This is a file meant for the Amiga, or at least I think for the Amiga. It's an executable for the Amiga. There is another executable inside, it's for MS-DOS. And I don't know if Windows is able to run it. I really doubt. Didn't try it. So this means that if you want to compress something with this method, you have to use WinUAE or a real Amiga. In my case, I used the Vamos, which is an interpreter for the Amiga. And it's written on Python, and it works quite well on Linux. The syntax is quite easy. You have to provide these arguments P and D, and then the input file. And this ppami.exe will produce the packet compressed version, and just replacing the extension with the RNC suffix. And this is how it works.
Can I stop you a second? First of all, hello, Night Shift. Now, Vamos. Is it the Amos version that was converted for Linux? Because I know that there was something like that. Is it?
I don't think it has nothing to do with Amos.
Okay.
It's just, let's say a Python script. You download it and you say, for example, Vamos, and then you provide as an argument an Amiga executable. And if you run this on a PC, it will just run the code as if you are emulating the Amiga. And he has also his own implementation of DOS.library, so all the DOS routines and the memory allocation. This means that if you want to run ppami.exe on a Linux machine or a Windows machine, you have two options. You use an emulator, WinUAE, FSUAE, or whatever. And the second one is this command line program. So it doesn't have a graphical GUI. You have to launch it from the terminal, and you say, there is an example on the last line. You say Vamos, and then you provide as an argument ppmi.exe, and he will execute this file, even if it's an Amiga executable.
I didn't know about this. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's very handy, and this is what I use on my AProcessing framework in order to count cycles, because he's also able to say how many cycles he used in order to fully execute the program.
Okay.
So it's quite handy for me. Of course, my final tests are done on real hardware and on FSUAE, but Vamos is perfect for these quick checks, or for just, in this case, compressing data.
For command line tools, it's ideal, I guess.
Yeah, you can just put this on your make file and just run make, and he will do the job.
It's a Python script, so Night Shift, probably it will run on Windows. I mean, I didn't try it, I didn't know about it, so yeah.
Let me check because it's a free software. If you Google Vamos Amiga, you get, let's say, okay, you get this Amy Tools Vamos on GitHub. It's the second link, and the author is let me check, is a guy which is called CNVOGELG. But yeah, just Google Vamos Amiga and follow the second link, and you will see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Also, he provide some other tools for the Amiga.
So it's this guy, basically.
Let me check the setup assignments. But yeah, you can also specify which CPU you want to run.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different settings. I think you can also run a CLI from here. But anyway, this is another subject. Just want to mention that I don't have the executable for modern machines in this case. But still, you can find on Aminet all this stuff. So turn the page and we will see how it's used. So this is the usage of ProPacker, and as you can see, it's almost identical to LZO.
Mm-hmm.
But here the routine works perfectly with, I think, every assembler. So VASM is perfect, no modification required.
Mm-hmm.
You have to set 0 on the 0, and this is just a flag. You can say it's 0 or 1. There is another compression method, and if you use the other compression, you have to set the 0 to 1. But this is written on README. I used this version here with 0. And of course, you have the same exact loading method of LZ4. You have to load the packet data into A0 and the unpacked data into A1. And then you just call JSR unpack. And of course, if the code is on the same hunk and it's quite near, you can use BSW. And then when JSR unpack is finished, you get all this unpacked data, so the same exact data with LZO you find on the unpacked address.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do the very same job, actually. I will say if you are using VASM and you don't want to mess a lot, this is a perfect solution. And if you are planning to release for multiple platforms, this is also a good solution. Again, in this example, I loaded the packet data with Inkbean, and always remember to put even after that. And most important, please reserve enough data for the unpacked at unpacked label, at unpacked address. In this case, I know in advance that after unpacking, I will get 54 bytes of data. So I just say dcb.b 540. So I could have used the S that is the same. All you have to know is that since your original file is 54, you have to in some way expect that he will write this amount of data at address you put in A1. And that's it. Please turn the page. We'll see some performances. These are the results, and these are the same exact files that I compressed with LZ4, and these are the ProPacket results. And even in this, let's say, using this method with Rob Northern, I will say you get a very good compression ratio. It's 35, 50,000, 40. I think it's even better because it is compressing a little bit more if compared to LZ4. And just remember, I'm compressing
what
images
is the size,
here.
for example, what was the original size of this file? Because we don't see it here in the...
It was listed before, it was more than 50,000.
Ah, okay.
But I have a lot of zeros on consecutive zeros on this image. So let's say that if you strip the last bit plane, it will be 35,000.
Sure.
Something like that, yes. What's it's meaningful for me is the last two tests, which are 42,000. The original size is more than 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's shrinking a lot. But the cycles, if you see the cycles, they are 812. It's a little bit more heavy, I will say. So if you are looking for performances on the compression, I think LZ4 is very, very good. It's very hard to beat. But if you are willing to give the CPU some more time, ProPacker gives you the ability to save even more data. This is, let's say, my impression. So thanks to Rob. And I have another one, so please turn the page and we'll see which is the third compressor. This is my favorite, no doubt about it. This is called Shrinkler, and this is widely used nowadays for compressing, also I think on size coding. He is very, very good at compressing. The author is this is very hard to pronounce. Aske Simon Christensen. Yeah. I think it's someone from Finland.
Christensen. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also the Mosiner, I think. It's
Looney. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and this Shrinkler as well is, you can download it from GitHub. And this is, believe me, this is unbelievable. The compression that he can reach is out of this world. This is a very complete suite of compression utilities. It's not just compressing your raw data. He has also the ability to compress executables. And this is what I used on my triangles intro.
Okay.
And I remember it shrinked a lot. Very good compression ratio. And there is also this feature which is quite unique for me. And there is the possibility to add a callback function while it's decompressing. So if you want to have, for example, a bar which is growing and growing, just an indicator of the status of the decompression, just to know at which stage we are, you can just specify the address of your routine that will draw the bar, for example, on the screen, and he will give you as an argument, it will provide you for the percentage of the decompression. So if you want to, for example, this little bar which is going to the right while decompressing, you can do it with Shrinkler.
Proton, I believe he has, if I recall from the slides. So yeah, Proton is asking if you have matrix comparison, and I think you do at the end of this slide.
It's just a spreadsheet. I don't know. Yes. With a little graph, it's something, I don't know if it's useful or if it's something what he's looking for. But yes, I did something. At least I tried. So there is this nice feature, which is the progress callback function. Of course, if you don't want it, just set to 0 the register which is responsible for the callback. This is a multi-platform, so you can run Shrinkler from Linux, Windows, Mac, Amiga, probably your fridge or toaster. I don't
Your
know.
fridge.
Yeah, it's written on C. I think it's very portable.
Uh-huh.
And this is really an awesome product. If it was you had to pay for this, I would definitely pay money in order to have this, because really this is beautiful. It does something, everything. What is missing is a clear license, because I didn't find a license TXT file. But on the comments, I read this part, and I quote: "The code is free to use in a whole part, modified or as is." So I'm not a lawyer again, but what I understand is Mr. Simon Christensen doesn't mind if we use it and if we include his code in our product. At least this is my understanding. I did this, so if I will be in jail, you know why.
Do not exaggerate.
Okay, so the command to compress is shrinkler.
Thanks, Going Digital. Thanks for the follow. We are discussing the game that Ozzy is doing. He's using some packing tools, and he's talking about them and comparing these tools basically. I normally stream Amiga stuff and normally assembly stuff, and also Commodore 64, but mostly Amiga. So yeah, and mostly it's game dev also related for our beloved Amiga machine. Okay, Ozzy?
Yes, I'm running out of water, but I have some spare. So what I was saying, okay, this shrinkler is a masterpiece, and if you didn't already get it, in order to compress, I use this very simple command, which is shrinkler minus minus data. You provide an input file, you provide an output file, and that's it. Very simple. And this will compress raw data. If you omit this, I think it's just treating your input file like an executable, and it will give you an executable compressed that can run from the Amiga. This is what I remember, but really it has a lot of options and it runs everywhere. So really it's beautiful. Thank you a lot, Mr. Simon. And so let's go further. On the next page should be the usage.
Yes.
It needs just a little more preparation in order to his complexity, but it's trivial. Really, it's very simple in order to use it. I remember it went. I just got a working executable at first try in 5 minutes. So wonderful. You have to set 0 to the 0, and of course again you have to load the packet and unpacket address into A1 and A2, and all the other options are for the callback function that I was talking before. And then I don't remember why, but you also need to set 1 into D7. I don't remember why I did this, but it's important, it's mandatory. And then you just called shrinkler decompress, which is the address of the decompressing routine. And again, you have to provide with Inkbean or whatever your compressed data, and just make sure that you have enough space for the deallocation. I don't know if it's possible to string with Shrinkler. I didn't see anything on the README file, but what I'd like to do is just tell Shrinkler, please just decompress the first 10 bytes, for example, and then the other 10 bytes will be a very nice feature. I don't know if it's possible to do it right now, but because Shrinkler is so full of stuff,
It has many
of
options, what
option,
you're
maybe
saying,
it's
basically.
possible.
So basically what you're saying, it has many options compared to the
Yeah,
others.
yeah,
I mean,
multiple usages.
of course, you didn't use all of the options. You just tried what you need for your game, right?
Exactly. So
So,
I went straight to the goal. My problem is I'm filling up my floppy disk. I'm near the limit. I'm gonna hit the limit if I add some music and another track, for example. So I have to figure out something because I don't want the game to be distributed in multiple floppy disk. And this is why I picked Shrinkler. But yes, I didn't try a lot of options. This works for me and it's perfect. So stop. End
yeah,
of the conversation. Please turn the page. We can see
yeah.
the final result and you won't believe it. These are the results. And look at the last three. If you remember, you before you had something like 40,000,
40, yes.
50,000.
Yeah.
Yes, and he is under the threshold of 40,000, and so you save even more that compared to Propacker from Rob Northern, and I know that there are some options inside the Shrinkler that you can do multiple passes. So it just tried to compress what has been already compressed. I didn't try it. This is just one pass, and just with one pass you get the best result ever. All the other compressor didn't reach this compression level, and it's very amazing. On the other side, if you look at the cycles, it means you can clearly state
Yeah.
that this is very slow. So it's the
Yeah.
slowest of them all. Really, but for me it's not a problem because I'm not decompressing while the game is running. Okay, you have to wait an extra half a second. This is not a problem for me at least. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I could release
So
another
this Shrinkler is good at compression, but slow
at decompressing.
at decompressing. Yeah.
Yeah, it means that before loading the game, you will have to wait some extra time.
Yeah. Okay.
This is what you have to pay in order to achieve this level of compression.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, as I said before, there is no winner here.
Mm-hmm.
We have multiple possibilities. Just pick what's best for you.
Sure, sure, sure.
In my case, I picked Shrinkler, but maybe for you the best solution is Propacker or LZ4. I don't know. So let's turn the page, and this is the last one. I think I just compared 4 different compressor, and of course, if you know something better, please let me know. I will just do a showdown part 2. And so this is another big name of the scene. I think you know this name,
Mm-hmm.
the Electronic Knights.
Yes.
And the coder is, I think, a master of the scene. And he came up with this cranker. And you can find cranker on Aminet. And also you can find it on this website, which is neoscientist.org. And for what I understand, this is based on LCO, maybe. What it's true is that I'm getting more or less the same results that I had with LZ4. So what Pellicus suggested at the beginning, it's not very different. So for me, they achieve the same performance more or less according to my tests. Of course, even Cranker is very easy to use, and the problem is that I can't find the license even on this product. But I think BFAT won't sue you, hopefully. You have he gives you pre-compiled binaries for Windows, Linux, and Mac, so you can compress it on your laptop, and it works. So the compressor works on Linux, on Windows, on Mac, on the Amiga. The command to compress is the following: I'm using this version, which is Cranker version 0.66, and this is the Linux version. And you have to exactly to use this syntax. I don't remember the arguments what are meant for, but you have to use -cd, and -f is just to state which is the input file, and -o is the output file, and you will get the compressed data. So please turn the page, and we'll see the
he has
result.
a tool. He has a tool. I don't know if you saw it. He has a tool for optimizing images on the bit planes. So basically, you first optimize the image on the bit plane, the way it sorts the colors basically, and then you use the cranker, and it should get better optimization. I mean,
this is good. I didn't know it.
I'm just telling you. But yeah.
This is good if you are compressing images.
Yeah. If it's
on my case, the problem is the metadata actually, so it won't fit so well because the metadata is something like a chunky image. It's not bit plane, planar image.
Yes, but before you convert it into metadata, you can use the tool that he has to optimize probably, but it's up to you. Just saying.
Okay, but I didn't know this. Thank you for the information. But yes, I can try it, of course. I can try it. I'm not in the mood of re-implementing again the compression, but
it's not to re-implement, it's to test. I mean, and it only works with images anyway.
Oh, sorry. Here you are on the previous slide.
No, it's. I think you have a mistake. The shrinker
I duplicated the. Yes. Go on the next page.
And then there is the shrinker result. So here I think you should have the. You see, the title is wrong, but the routine is correct.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
so you have the title that should be cranker.
Yeah. One thing that is very weird is that if you look here, there is load entire address packet lol +4, and this is what I read on the instruction. He said that the first 4 bytes must be skipped, and so I did this +4 and it works fine. I just don't realize why he's asking to do that, why the user has to provide this extra information, this +4, but it worked actually, no problem at all. So you don't even need to specify data on the data register. You have just load your packet +4 address into A0, where you want to decompress into A1, and you just jump to this routine which is called LZO decrunch. And of course, you have to include his code on your project, and then RTS. And that's it. I think it's the fastest, the simplest method to uncompress. Just 3 instructions. So it's very, very, very easy to use. And please turn the page and we can just see how it performs. So the final size is very good. We are, even in this case, we are under the half of the original size. And for me, the final outcome is very near to LZ4. And this is why I'm thinking that they belong to the same mechanism of compressing. There are just some variations. But it's very good for me, and it works. And it's also quite fast, very fast. So for me, this is just a substitute of LZ4. You can take one or another, doesn't make much difference, according to my experience. And that's it. I would say I have no more compression algorithms to show. There is this comparison graph. So in blue, you have the original size of my data. On the X, you have the files. On the X of this graph, you have the file that I compressed. I tested 8 files. The file 1 is missing because it's just 45 bytes, so it's not very significant for these tests. But the others, so file 2, file 3, file 4, and file 5, and file 6 are just bitmap image. So actually they are IF raw data image on planar format, 5-bit planes. So they are all performing quite well. And file 7 and file 8 are my track files. So they contain the position of the car where they have to start. They contain the image, and they contain the metadata, which is just telling what is the ice, what is the grass, and so on. So it's just random data here. And on the red, I think you see LZ4, and the cranker is the orange. So you can see they are very close to each other. Rob Northern is doing a little bit better, but Schrinkler is what is compressing the most. And there is this spreadsheet which is public. If you want to compare or just save it, you can just take this and and use it for your tests if you want to compare with your files. And that's it. So for me here, the winner is clearly Schrinkler. In every stage, in every file, he got the best result. So please turn the page and we'll see. I think I did another comparison chart. This is about speed. So I just compared how many cycles were reported by Vamos in order to complete the decompressing and of course checking the result. But the checking result is almost the same code. What's difference is just the compressor routine. So for me here, we can see that Schrinkler is very slow. It's much slower. So if this is a problem for you, please don't consider Schrinkler. All the others for me are
Similar.
similar. Yes, and I once more I want to underline this fact that LZ4 and Cranker are really close to each other. So I think we are just, maybe there are some situation when one is a little bit better, but according to my test, they are almost the same. And ProPacker is a little bit slower, but for me, it's a very good product, ProPacker. And that's it. Do we have more slides?
I think you have one more. Yeah, this
Yeah,
one.
go
It's
to the
interesting.
last one.
Yeah.
A lot of slides today. And this is the result of my hard work of the last 2 weeks. So on the left, we have my game, which was uncompressed. And I had this 272K3, and I was approaching to the end of the world, because if I put, let's say, a mod file should be, I don't know, 100K, something like that. So, and I will put here another mod file and another track, and I would reach the limit, and the disk will be full. So again, with only 3 tracks and one music track, I don't know. Yeah, okay, we can do multiple disks, but we can do better. On the right, we have the new version of the program, which is exactly the same data. So the game is the same. The only thing that is like compressed with the shrinkler in this case. And look at this. Now I'm using a quarter of the disk, 25% only. The whole game, so all my assets, the code, the metadata, the tracks, so everything, the fonts. Now the fonts are not compressed actually. I didn't compress with Shrinkler because they are quite small. But anyway, we are talking about, we went from 68% to 25%. And for me, this is remarkable. And thanks to Shrinkler. And that's it.
So
If
so
you
you
want,
use Shrinkler also to compress your exe.
yes, I
Okay.
did it.
Yeah.
The executable is also Shrinklerized, I
Okay.
would say.
Fair enough.
So I have no more slides. If you want, I can show you the implementation inside the game. If you have Visual Studio Code, we can just give a quick look, and then we can call it,
Yeah, we
call
can
it
do
a
that.
night.
We can do that. We can do that. So, where should I go in source?
There is inside the src directory, there is load track underscore s
Yeah, I
h
saw it. I
r.
found it. Yeah.
Okay. Here, just search for memcpy, memcpy, and the second occurrence. Yes. So, do you see at line 178?
Mm-hmm.
This is where we are at the stage that you are asking the game to start. So we are starting the race, but before starting the race, you have to load the metadata and the image. So what I'm doing here is just loading track data into track data 1 into A0, and this track padding and minus trk file size. This is a quick, let's say, a trick that I did in order to have the data aligned with what I need. So it's decompressing here, and when it's decompressed, I have to move blocks of memory,
Yeah.
in order to copy. For example, the position must be on variable x. So this mem cpy, these are just for this purpose. But yes, what you need to understand here is that you have to, let's say, just jump into this shrinkler decompress and just provide the information. So track data one is where I put the compressed data. And if you go up, you will see that there is a call to read LVO read, which is asking the OS to read from floppy disk or from the hard drive, depending where you are. Yeah, exactly. This track data one, it's loaded into D2, and then the operating system is, pardon, it's just copying data, compressed data into this memory location. And then I call decompress, and the compressed data goes into track pending and minus TRK, which is my formula, I would say, where I want to decompress it. So this is what I did, essentially. I don't think it's hard to read. It's quite straightforward, at least for me.
Yeah. I mean, this is all
there is this part, if you notice at line 170, and this is something that I don't know if it's necessary or not. This is something that I copied from RamJam, and they say that after that you close the file, and before re-enabling the OS, you have to wait that the motor of the drive must be not spinning anymore. So they introduced this routine in order to count the vertical blanks, in order to insert this delay, and it's quite long. So the problem is that after loading the file, I have to wait 150 vertical blanks, and then Shrinkler starts to decompress. I don't know if it's possible to get rid of this part, because Shrinkler will take a lot of time in order to decompress, but I really fear that on a Vampire this would result in some problems, because the Vampire can execute the Shrinkler routine in no time.
Well, so, this one is because of the mechanical thing of the drive was introduced there. Also, you have a parameter in the startup file where you can vary it. I see that you put it manually, but normally you have a parameter for this in the startup file, where you specify that.
Yeah, I can put it on a define, but my problem right now is, do we really need this? Because
if you're going to make it on floppies, physical floppies, I think you need it. If you're going to run from SD cards or CF cards or whatever, I don't think you need it. But
but I would need a routine that tells me if you are using a floppy drive or a CF card or a mechanical hard disk, because this may vary. But anyway, this is how it works right now. I don't know what happens if I completely remove this part, because it's just inserting an extra delay. But yeah, if I wanted to achieve a solution which should work on every classical Amiga, I think this is mandatory, unless I can find a method to distinguish and do some fine-tuning according to the hardware, but this is beyond my scope, actually. But anyway, you asked me to show an example. This is one example, and if you go to the AProcessing on GitHub, you find this exact same code, and with an executable that just checks byte by byte, bit by bit, the result of this routine, and compares to the compressed version that I run on a PC, and they must match exactly every bit.
Yeah,
otherwise
as Night Shift is saying, Even Blitz Basic, actually this is true. Blitz Basic tells you to wait when you read from floppy, so
Yeah, it must be mandatory.
It must be mandatory, no? So it is a must.
Yeah, probably there is also the possibility to release two files. For example, I could just put an installer on the disk and say if you are running from hard drive, you get rid of this part. I don't know. This is a possibility. I don't know because don't have too much time in order to fine tune all this stuff. I just want my game to be fun and working and not crashing. This is the main objective. I'm not looking for perfection here.
I don't know if you saw the message of Proton. He said Blueberry designed Shrinkler for small executables. LZO is liter-based compression. So is LZ4, which is also based on LZ77, but has worse compression ratio, but in a way more faster than LZ top. I don't know. I don't think we can answer that question, but it is a good one.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
Yeah. Thanks for the information. Just want to say again that according to my test, LZO and LZ4, for me, not much difference. I didn't notice too much actually. But I don't know, maybe with other files, so all my tests were only for the game. I didn't try with different file types or file size. I just wanted something that could be good for my game.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just used compressor against my files, and these are the result. And I thought that would be interesting maybe for you to share my findings, my research. But of course, these tests are just my tests and are not exhaustive, of course. Maybe if you try again with, for example, video files or raw random data, you will get completely another scenario. It's possible, yes. So that's it. I hope you find this informative. I put a lot of work on this stream, so if it's useful for you, I will be very glad.
So, guys, thank you very much, Ozzy, for the stream of today. I think it's very interesting. I myself was interested in this subject because I never went and analyzed the thing, so Ozzy did something.
And also, Ramjem, I think, neglected this topic.
Were all these there? Because he mentions Power Packer, but that's all at that time.
Just a brief mention? No, like examples?
No, he doesn't mention examples, no. But he mentions Power Packer. Yeah, I think at that time when he wrote, there was only Power Packer, to be honest, at the time. That's what I remember. PP2.
Also, one thing that I didn't say is that inside the ProPacker archive, there is another version of ProPacker by Rob Novel, and I didn't try it actually. I assume that it was the same stuff, but maybe you get better result with the second algorithm. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to mention if
Sure.
you are curious, you can try on your
own. So, we arrive at the end of the stream. So, guys, thank you very much. We will meet again next week on Tuesday if Ozzy has something else. We will skip.
Next Tuesday, I will be on Austria.
No. Yeah. He will not be able to do it. So there is no stream next Tuesday. Maybe I will stream, but my way of streaming. So yeah, in 2 weeks' time, hopefully Ozzy will have something for us. So guys, thank you very much, and I'll hope to see you in my next stream, which probably it will be sometime later on this week. Ozzy, thank you very much again for your help
You're
with the
welcome.
stream, and see you guys. Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.